Okay, so yesterday it occurred to me that the next day, today, is Thanksgiving. I don't have family around me. And oddly enough, that feels way better than having family around me. But it's also like, then you wish there were people around you. Like, and you have ideas about like the kind of people you want around you. Like just kind people that are fun to talk to and get your weirdness. Maybe you want to sing with you, like a choir medley. I don't know. Maybe you want to hear you perform. That stuff I love to do on the holidays. I got to do like for my family. It was funny, like, because I thought I was so good in high school of a musician singer, and I probably was, but when my sister said, like, she said some sort of comment that sounded like a comment I'd heard a million times, like, something like that sounded really good. Something generic and vague, I think. And I said, okay. This was years ago when I was like 17. And so she tells me, like, quite frankly, that it's rude to say okay when someone compliments you. So, like, what if you think the compliment's fucking stupid? Can't you just say okay? Can't you just say how you feel? She's kind of like against, in general, saying how you feel. She likes to beat around the bush. Okay. I don't really talk to her anymore. I think she's slightly intimidated by me, which is hilarious. Because for society's intents and purposes, I'm not a threat to her. I think if she had the things she wanted, she'd be okay. But she doesn't. And I have lots of sisters, so I'm not going to be able to figure out who this one is. But she was really rude to me when I needed her help, when I was struggling and I got to the southern United States. I dropped in on her house for 3 days. I texted her first and said I was staying with a man who was scaring me, because he was. He was like an alcoholic, and I was getting weird vibes in the house. So I stayed there while he was like on a work trip, which lasted like 5 days or whatever. I stayed there like 2 additional days besides that, so I was there a week. This was after I got to where I am, and the week before that, I'd had all my instruments stolen out of my car, probably by some other guy I thought cared about me that didn't. So I'm learning not to be so fucking gullible. I guess I just want someone to love me, but I'm kind of like not really doing that thing anymore. I'm just loving me. And it's not going to be just like attraction that leads me to someone in the future. That would be good. It would help. But now I'm legitimately scared that if I'm attracted to someone, they're going to hurt me. I don't know if my relationship meter is still wonky, but I think it is. See, I wasn't attracted to the guy who stole my instruments initially. It's kind of a moot point because I have so much joint pain that it's been so hard to play the instruments for the last year. I don't know. Singing's fine. I'd rather have people back me up than play the instruments anyway. It's kind of a nice feeling when you hear the warmth in the music coming out, and it's fun to learn new things. That's what I like about playing instruments. But I like my voice more than instruments. So, anyways, this my roommate is kind of, the rudeness he's had towards me about turning down his volume at night is reminding me of like all the men who've ever taken advantage of me and pissing me the fuck off, because I don't stand for it anymore. I stand for me. Number one, uno me. Drawing a circle of ones around my face. Yes, yes, yes. One. You put it on my nose. Zoom out, zoom in. I have a finger nose. Okay, that's how weird I really am. But most people really do not quite accept this about me. TikTok has been showing me a million things about females with autism. So I'm like, do I have autism? Or am I just a fucking alien? Because I've never felt like I fit in on this planet. I feel like I'm from Sirius. I know it's a star, but I don't know. It might be it's in a constellation, I would imagine. For some reason, the Andromeda Galaxy popped up in my head just now, so I think I have something to do with that as well. I think I'm here to help people through my voice or my words or whatever. It kind of sucks to be so fucking lonely all the time and feel like no one can relate to you and you're always on the outside. But I mean, I'm not having these feelings for no fucking reason. I kind of understand I'm not the only one who's had the experiences I've had. And I think other people who feel like they can't relate to anyone might relate to me. So, in that, we're not alone. So I hope at some point I can meet these people. That would be sweet. I'm just feeling kind of alone right now because it's Thanksgiving and I don't have a community of people to be around me. Although in my dreams and visions, I live in some cottage amidst a bunch of people who love me, and we don't live that far apart, and we have a community garden, and we just love each other. And the kids are taken care of because everyone takes care of them and everyone helps. And if you're a pedophile, you get kicked out of the village. But I think we probably wouldn't let them in the first place because that'd be dumb. Anyway, not sure why I had to mention that. I just don't want children to be hurt. That's the point. Okay, this is going a little deeper. I have dated sex offenders, okay? And I assume this was like me trying to process what horrific abuse I experienced as a young child and afterwards at some points. I remember being in sort of a basement when I was 5, like trapped there for I don't know how long. Could have been months, could have been years. I can't remember most of my life, so it's hard to tell. But at some point, I hope to actually remember so I can, like, make peace with it. But what I've been doing since I kind of noticed this girl in the basement, which I call my inner child, which is funny because my dad always said I was like Elvis in the basement, which I took to mean something about my inner potential and where I'm currently at. I'm not in the basement, but my little girl is, my inner child. So anyway, I keep trying to like drag her out of the basement, but I decided I'm gonna stop doing that. Like, she can sit there as long as she wants. I think she just needs to know it's safe. And she'll come out when she's ready. Like, whatever. I don't have to like force her to like reunite with me. And when I have tried to force her to do that, it's like, so I've tried to like drag her up the stairs of the basement to go outside, right? Or I've been frustrated with her. A common thing I see in my head is her like eating my insides with a knife and fork. So I'm thinking this is like some sort of metaphor for ulcerative colitis, and what's stressing me out is trying to force her to be different and change and not be hurt. When it's like, even, I think I just need to touch base with what she experienced in the basement. Not necessarily the darkness, because I already did that and it was like horrific, the images I saw of what happened to her. Me. I remember her connecting with like Jesus there and talking to him like he was sitting in the room with her. I remember her talking to God. I remember her drawing stars with her eyes. Purple ones and rainbows, magenta and blue, and kind of all the things I would draw once I got colored pencils later in life when I was 8 or 9. And I remember watching this movie with my dad. There was a girl on a boat. You might know what movie it is, but she's only ever been able to draw with like a black charcoal or something. And he gives her some colors, like 3 colors. And I'm like, wow, that's amazing. Like, this girl only got to draw with one color, and she was still happy. And she appreciated that she got 3 colors. You know how many colors kids get nowadays? In that way, I've been kind of advantaged. But, like, the kids are scared, you know, because their parents are off the rocker. At least I was scared. And now, looking back, I see that my dad was a more stable parent than my mom. I honestly think he was physically disabled and just didn't talk about how much pain he was in. And in my mind as a teenager, I was always angry at him and thought he was lazy. So it's kind of come back around on me that people, when I started quitting work and a year later applied for SSDI, people didn't really understand. At that point, I was like 30. Yeah, I guess I was 30 when I applied. I might have been 31 when I got SSDI. But I don't know, just stupid comments about how could you. My neighbor said, how could you? About putting my son up for adoption, which I tried to do before his dad blocked it. And, you know, now he's been adopted, but that's a different story. But, just other stupid shit. Like they couldn't see my pain, so it wasn't valid. Like I would actually hurt my child on purpose. That's not even a possibility. There were things I did that I regret and things I know hurt him, but it wasn't like an intention of mine ever. And I think that was the same with my father, that he never meant to hurt me. And I think his random outbursts of anger that really scared me and had me like walking on eggshells were probably more about PTSD in some way, because sometimes, well, I dropped something in the kitchen. This happened quite a bit, and then it got worse because I was afraid of dropping something in the kitchen, so I drop it more. This is also kind of how I learned to be calm under pressure. Part of why I'm good singing on stage. because I can like deal with it if I make mistakes, so I just don't for the most part. Wouldn't be a big deal if I did. I don't know. I could deal with it. I'd be a little shocked, but I'd be, yeah, I mean, I'd be overcome by anger at first because I'm hard on myself, but anyways, the point is I'm cool under pressure, not the emotions I would have for making a mistake. I feel like I'm rambling. Okay, I'm just talking to you guys like I can't talk to anybody in my life. Because why not? I've barely met a therapist I can trust. I met one, but she couldn't see me because I wasn't going to school anymore. But I talked to her a lot about the thing where I thought I was going to be murdered, and about PTSD, and about my childhood, and about my son, and about thinking I was two different people. Well, I kind of am in a way because I have like a female and male energy, but this was kind of a different story. I just don't know if I'll be accepted for what I'm saying. I don't know if I can deal with hateful comments. I really dealt with them enough in my life. I just want to fucking go away. And I'm like, in my opinion, I'm already a famous singer. It doesn't matter if the tally of people following me doesn't say that. I have been loved everywhere I've gone to sing, and there are multiple people who always like appreciate me singing. This is not 100% of the time, but 90 maybe. I always have some fans that I gain. Just because they don't know what my YouTube channel is doesn't mean they're not there. So that's how I view that. Because I've kind of got to the point where I'm not going to say, oh, I'm not famous, blah, 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 and whine about it. But I guess my point is if I had more notoriety, which is a different thing, that it would be hard to deal with all the naysayers and comments. Or I imagine people would make fun of me for being too open or sharing my life or something. Like, why would they give a shit what I care about or share about? You know? What difference does it make to their actual life? I think some people are just way too concerned with other people and their lives, because their own life is boring. But I guess besides when I'm singing, and even after I'm singing, like a lot of people have some sort of problem with me. And I think because of something I saw on TikTok, that it's because I kind of reflect to them like their own behavior or something. Like I don't like say anything to them, but I think they like see my strength and get intimidated because I don't give up, and I'm persistent, and I don't give up, 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 and I don't give up. It just doesn't happen. Kind of why I can't kill myself, because I don't give up. I would say I've been close to thinking about it, and I've definitely thought about, I wish someone would just kill me so I didn't have to worry about this. I'm also not courageous enough to kill myself, so that's kind of a good thing. Like a comedian was talking about, like, he wouldn't like attempt suicide because what if you mess up? Like you're never in better shape after a failed suicide attempt. So that also scares me. Like my main one was jumping off the bridge into the river in my hometown, which I didn't think would kill me, would just scare the shit out of me, and I'd probably just, there are some places you could jump in and die because there are metal things in the water in random places, but not the place I was thinking of. I just wanted it to go away. I wanted all the pain to go away, and I still do. Maybe it will someday. I think the more I accept myself and just accept where I'm at and accept the pain, like the better it'll be, because then it kind of adds a layer of kindness or calm to the waters of depression. Depression isn't just about loneliness. I think it's about rejuvenation almost, or like a tearing down or tearing apart. Almost so you can build something new, so you have an opportunity to change your life. So, like even when I was singing when I was a teenager around Missoula, Montana, a lot. I'd probably done like, I don't know, 50 places in a year and a half. I don't really think I'm exaggerating, but at the end of it, I still felt empty, because I could like love myself while I was singing, because I thought I was good enough. Like singing was what made me good enough. So like all the rest of the time I felt like shit. Except for like on days where I knew I would be singing later. Like I'd get hyped up and excited. I'd feel like a totally different person. I'd feel good all day. It just kind of stopped working. And I wasn't feeling good before I go sing, because I knew that once I stopped singing, the depression would just like hit like a bomb and I'd feel down again. So I thought, like, if I don't go sing, maybe this will even out and I can just figure out how to be a person again. And I tried for so many years and it wasn't working. I tried like everything I could, and most days I just woke up. I was with my ex-husband at this point, but I just woke up like, okay, today something could be different. I could figure something out, you know, with some hope through the depression, but nothing ever worked out and nothing ever got better. That could have been partially because I was with him and like emotional dependence, and he wasn't a good person to depend on. But it's not good to put your emotional eggs in someone else's basket. I don't really know what a healthy relationship is like. So I had this dream about my dad, and he was very anti-abortion, which I kind of hated about him in high school, because I thought, for one, because I'd read about prohibition, if you take away rights from people, they're still going to do what they were going to do in the first place. Basically, what just happens is that more women are going to get hurt getting abortions they need. I don't know what the psychological effects of abortion are, but I know it's not good. I'm just like, was my dad trying to defend a woman for their emotional well-being? I haven't quite made sense of it. But anyways, in the dream, my dad was just saying he understood more about the world than me, and that he wasn't trying to say that a woman shouldn't get an abortion. And he said one other thing, something about women's rights or some subtlety about the universe. My dad passed away in 2017 when my son was a year old, but he was 75. My dad had me when he was 50. He has 10 children. I have lots of siblings I don't talk to. Most of them are from other mothers. My parents' religion was Rosicrucianism. They had some really interesting books, and they like fought over them. When I was 9, my dad pushed my mom down in the upstairs hallway and she couldn't get up. It had hurt her back a lot. My dad was 6'4", my mom was 5'4". My dad was a big man. But, so at 9 years old, I ran up the stairs. I screamed, "I hate you," at my dad several times. And he said, "I understand." So, like, the interesting thing was that if he could see he was at fault, he would, like, own up to it. That didn't really excuse his behavior. And I know he was abusive to my mom. I kind of followed suit with their example because my mom had been so mad at my dad for not being able to bring her grand piano across the country when they moved to Oregon when I was young. And she told me about that later, but I almost think that destroyed their whole relationship. And I don't know if it was that my dad couldn't afford to bring her grand piano or that he thought it was ridiculous, but somehow he had, like, made her dreams insignificant. And I mean, my mom already had me, and I think she might have already had my 1.5 year younger brother as well at that point. I remember, like, seeing her eyes at this point in, like, a photograph, and she was kind of, like, dimly lit, her eyes, like, somewhat cognizant, like, more than she is now, for the most part. I think her mental illness symptoms got worse over time. Well, I know that's true. Because by the time I was in high school, she was talking to herself, walking around the apartment complex. And she had her own apartment at one point, and my friends in high school were kind of dicks to me and thought I should make sure my mom was okay. Like, they even knew what it was like to have a schizophrenic mother. They were always giving me a fucking hard time. Coming from their perfect fucking families. Not perfect, but not as fucked up as mine. It's just like, it's like all I could do to cope was to be away from her. But I thought, hey, you know, my friends are saying I'm not giving my mom the time of day and I should check on her or call the police and, like, stand up for myself. I don't know what the fuck. Anyways, so I knock on my mom's door over and over. She won't answer. She knows it's me. She knows it's her daughter. And I say I'm going to call the police on her. And I do. So by the time the police get there, well, of course she'll open the door for the police. She's, like, all put together and fine, and the house is clean. It's like she has some wave where she can just flick some magic switch and everything's just fucking okay. Well, it's, like, not okay to me, and it's never been okay. And, like, I got this message in my head, like, months ago. It's like, don't be so hard on your mom. I don't know if it came from my dad or God, but maybe both. And I just don't know how not to be hard on her. And does that, like, include... I just know that once my dad was gone, I could see all the things he'd done well. And what a good father in what ways he had been. Not everyone even gets to know their own mother and father. So I was lucky that way. So my mom put me through so much, and I'm trying to let go. I was mad at my dad while he was here because he would say stuff like my mom had worms in the brain, and which, who the fuck knows? Do people know what causes schizophrenia? But at that point I was like, I just didn't like that explanation, and I was mad at him, like some vague theoretical reason why my mom's insane. This is great, this is helpful, thanks, Dad. But when I was in high school, I think, because of all the trauma I experienced, and I might have said this in some previous video, but I had images in my head of family members and friends like dead and bloody, and I was never the culprit that I could see. It wasn't like some fantasy I was playing out. There was things that would pop in my head, which my vocal teacher at the time said that happened to her, oddly enough, after her brother came back from war. So I'm not sure what that's about, but there's a correlation. I used to like her as well, but the pattern was similar to the one with my mom, where she wouldn't really inquire much about me when we talk. We would talk a lot during the lessons, and it's mostly just she wanted someone to listen to her and field her thoughts and theories, and I kind of got into this habit of chasing people around who I wanted to love me. So one time I kind of followed her to a bike trail after the lesson. I don't really think she wanted me there, but she tolerated it. Another time I had called her about my ex-husband when we were still dating, trying to figure out what was going on, and kind of telling her I was scared of him was what I was trying to communicate. And she was just she was irritated that I called her at like midnight. I don't know. I've tried to have lots of surrogate mothers, but they always like abandoned me. My most recent one was someone I used to work with at Ace Hardware. And she kind of helped me with my baby somewhat. She'd bring Christmas presents, and she gave me some kitchen pans, pots, silverware. She hung up some curtains in my living room for me. She was really sweet. It's just, after I had Damien adopted, I went to her at Ace Hardware, and although she had said at one point, "You are my daughter," apparently that was not true, and conditional upon whether she got what she wanted or whatever pain she was in, which I respect, but just don't say that to a person if you don't like mean it with your whole heart. Because it hurt me a lot that she didn't want to see me anymore. Because she missed my son. And she was crying. So I'm like, "Can I call you? Can I come to your house?" She's like, "No, you know where I work." And she's crying, so I get it. She's having a bad time. I see her later, like 2 months after this, and I haven't tried to talk to her at Ace Hardware again. I've been there a few times. I don't look her in the eye, and I just walk past her out the door. And she says, "Have a good day," like she wishes I would talk to her, but she told me not to talk to her, in more or less terms or words. So was it ever a relationship or a real friendship? I don't know. And just like things like this hurt me so much, and I just have to go back to like relying on myself when I was like trying to trust her. I used to work at Ace Hardware for a long time. I was a good employee. For a while, I'd routinely show up late on Thursdays because I worked at 12:45. And I always found being on time for someplace I didn't want to even go ridiculous. So I had to rebel a little. But, okay. Rosie out.